Okay, so let's continue. So now we are going to look at exercise on chapter 8, which is ecology. Maybe kita buat part A saja. Okay, for part B kita buat hari Khamis. Alright. So part A, multiple choice question. Number 1, two species cannot permanently occupy the same ecological niche. Choose the best statement that explains the situation. So two species, they cannot have overlapping niche. Kan? So dia tak boleh duduk kat pokok yang sama ke, dia tak boleh makan jenis prey yang sama ke, sebab dia akan menghasilkan competition, overlapping niche. Okay, same ecological niche. So choose the best statement that explain the situation. So the answer would be C. The two species would compete for the same resources. Maksudnya bila dia duduk tempat yang sama, contohnya dekat satu kolam, ikan, contohnya ikan species A, species B. So because they are living in the same habitat, they have overlapping habitat, overlapping niche, so they might compete also for the same food, for the same prey, for example, kan? Okay, so the two species will compete for the same resources. Tempat untuk dia duduk, dia akan compete, dan juga sumber makanan, dia akan compete juga. Okay, tapi mate tak, sebab two different species rarely they can mate each other. Okay, so species A selalunya tak boleh mate dengan species B. Kalau boleh pun might be dia punya anak tu is not viable. Dia tak sihat. It is not fit. Maksudnya tak fit, maksudnya anak yang dihasilkan tu boleh jadi sterile, mandul, tak boleh nak menghasilkan keturunan. Contohnya lah, kan? So ingat competition between species selalunya tak melibatkan they compete for pasangan. Kalau compete for pasangan, mating adalah competition between individual of the same species. Intra-specific competition Intra-specific competition baru melibatkan competition for finding mate. Okay. Okay. So so note kat sini food and also space. Okay, food and space contohnya lah. Alright. So which of the following statement is not correct? Kita tengok statement dia apa. So in mutualism, both species gains benefit. So dua-dua positif lah kan. So interaction between two species that both gains benefit is mutualism. Alright. So B, in parasitism, the host receive the negative effect. Betul lah. Parasite yang positif, dia dapat makanan, nutrient daripada host negative effect. So this one is correct. C, in commensalism, both species gains benefit. So this one is incorrect. Again, so one species gets benefit, the other tak ada effect langsung. Okay. Contohnya, burung yang bertenggek atas kerbau tu. Okay nah. Okay. So positive and no effect. And then D, in predation only predator gains benefit je lah kan. So the predator eats the prey, prey mati, negative lah. Right? So positive, negative, right? So the answer not correct adalah C, right? Alright, so C, 3, when a harmless species takes advantage by resembling aposematic coloration of other species that are toxic, it is called as Batesian mimicry. Kita ada dua jenis mimicry ingat Batesian mimicry is when the harmless one mimics the harmful one. Yang tak berbisa, dia mempunyai physical lebih kurang sama dengan yang harmful. Okay, so that is Batesian. Kalau Mullerian adalah both species are harmful, rupa dia lebih kurang sama. So that is Mullerian, right? So number 4, an ecological community is a collection of, ini awak kena tahulah kan definition awal-awal nota tu, what is the definition of species, population, community kan. So all that ecological level tu you have to know the definition, where community is when you have one habitat, you have species A, you have species B, you have species C, you have species C, D, E kan. So all these species that live in the same habitat, they interact with each other kan. So that is what we call it as interacting population in one community. You have individuals of many different species living in the same area, in the same habitat. Okay, that is community. Kalau population apa? In one habitat, okay, you have uh, a few individuals of the same species, kan? So numerous or a number of individuals of the same species, kan? Species A, species A, species A, species A. So this is a population. Okay, individual of the same species living an area is what we call it as population. Alright, so you have to know perbezaan antara population dengan community, kan? Okay, so number 5. Certain caterpillars resemble green leaves or twigs to hide from predators. Name this type of defense. Yang mana? The blend dengan dia punya environment.
A.
Cryptic coloration ataupun camouflage. Okay. So bila organism tu dia hide by blending to the environment, we call it as cryptic coloration ataupun camouflage. Kalau aposematic, warning coloration warning coloration. Bright colors to warn off the predator. Okay, number 6. Two species of butterfly, Heliconius irato dengan Heliconius malpomine are distasteful. Dua-dua tak sedap dimakan. Dua-dua harmful lah kan. So makan gatal-gatal kepada predator whatever. So dua-dua tak boleh dimakan. Okay, so they have similar coloration pattern, rupa dia lebih kurang sama to minimize predation. So name this type of defensive adaptation. It is Mullerian mimicry. Apa dia punya keyword dia adalah dua-dua tak boleh dimakan. Okay, feature dia lebih kurang sama. Alright, so this is Mullerian mimicry. What is the significance of this Mullerian mimicry? Awak dah cakap, pada fikiran awak, alah, dah memang dia berbisa, memanglah akan predator elak. Tapi sebenarnya, okay, when you have species A and when you have species B that are alike and both are distasteful, predator akan makan, contohnya dia akan makan dulu species A. So predator ni kan, predator ni saya bagi D lah. Predator ni kan, bila dia dah makan species A, dia dah tahu species A tu tak sedap, dia dah tahu bila dia makan species A tu dia jadi gatal-gatal. Bila dia jumpa species B, dia dah elak dah kan, dia tak nak, hari tu dah makan dah yang A ni, dia jadi gatal-gatal. So dia akan elak daripada makan species B contohnya. Okay, so that is the significance of Mullerian mimicry ni. Okay, so dia tak makan dah species B. Alright, so number 7, competition between species would be greatest if they attempt to occupy the same niche kan. So two species, they cannot have overlapping niche. So if they have overlapping niche, this would create competition between these two species. What is overlapping niche? Tempat tinggal dia sama, area tempat tinggal dia sama, they are competing for the same food, for the same resources, for the same space to live in. So that is overlapping niche. Okay. Baru akan ada terbitnya competition, right? So number 8, in an ecosystem, you would expect to find interspecific competition. Ingat definition for interspecific competition between individual of different species. Okay, inter. Kalau intra, individual of the same species. Okay, so soalan ni nak inter. Okay, so in an ecosystem, you expect to find interspecific competition between male of a species during breeding. Salah. Saya dah cakap tadi, different species tak boleh nak compete for the same mate. Dia tak compete untuk mating. Different species So salah. Population of two species that occupy the same niche. Is that the answer? Two species?
Yes.
Kan? Dua species occupy the same niche. So akan berlakunya competition, interspecific competition. So jawapan dia B. Kita tengok C and D juga supaya faham kenapa bukan jawapan dia. So two wasp species in different habitat that mimic each other appearance. Ini yang adaptation untuk reduce predation defensive mechanism. So dia tak ada kaitan dengan competition, interspecific competition two species. Ini adalah maybe dia sebab dia wasps, dia adalah Mullerian mimicry kan. Dia lebih kepada defensive mechanism. D, male and female of a species in which both sexes occupy the same niche. Memang salah lah sebab dia still cerita pasal species yang sama kan. So salah. So jawapan dia adalah B. Number 9. Territorial behavior occurs as an outcome of territorial competition lah kan. So territorial behavior between two different species that live in the same area. Contohnya yang macam barnacles hari tu kan. Okay, barnacle. Saya bagi contoh yang barnacle tu. Territorial kawasan kan. Okay. So kita ada hari tu apa? Catamalis, right? Catamalis occupy the top part of the rock and then the balanus occupy the bottom part of the rock. So in order to reduce competition of space between these two barnacles kan. So dia akan bahagikan. Okay, catamalis duduk atas, balanus duduk bawah. So that is territorial behavior lah. Ya ke tak? Boleh tak kita apply macam tu? Territory. Ataupun boleh juga kita apply pada yang resource partitioning juga. Okay, resource partitioning macam lizard hari tu. In order to reduce competition, okay, species A duduk atas pokok. Species B duduk kat dahan. Species D duduk kat atas on the ground. Contohnya kan. Territorial behavior. Okay. This is disebabkan oleh terjadinya competition. Tak kisahlah competition for space or competition for food. Right? So number 10, bright and conspicuous colours usually displayed by venomous animals are known as aposematic coloration. Warning coloration, bright colours. Okay, bright colours untuk warn off predators. Okay. So bila awak masuk hutan tu tiba-tiba jumpa new species that are bright in colours, awak rasa tempted to eat. Tak kisahlah dia buah ke, dia haiwan yang maybe awak rasa tempted to eat, so elakkan. Alright? Tempted untuk pegang, ala cute-nya, warna merah, comelnya, awak pegang. So that organism might contain toxin, right? Okay, so number 11, resource partitioning. Baru cerita pasal resource partitioning tadi. Resource partitioning would most likely occur between population of predators and prey. Salah lah. Population of the same animal species. Salah. Same species. Salah lah. Resource partitioning. Population of species in different ecological niche. Kalau different ecological niche, dia takkan berlaku competition lah sebab dia duduk pada habitat yang berbeza. Kan? So tak adalah berlaku competition. Population of species with similar ecological niche. Okay, so you have population of species A, population of species B, kan? Macam lizard tu tadi. Kan? So satu duduk atas pokok, satu duduk kat tahan, satu duduk kat atas tanah. Kan? So that is resource partitioning. Okay. Jawapan dia adalah D. Population of species with similar ecological niche. Right? So in order to reduce competition, they will divide which species they occupy which spot in that habitat. Okay. Okay, number 12. Figure 1 shows a leaf insect blend with. So keyword dia blend. Baca je terus highlight apa keyword dia. Blend with the environment. This adaptation is known as cryptic coloration, camouflage. Okay. Number 13. In population of Geopizza fuligonosa and Geopizza fortis in Los Hermanos and Daphne have similar big morphology. So maksudnya ada dua tempat, Los Hermanos dengan Daphne Island. Okay. Los Hermanos maybe ada Geofuligonosa. Ini ada maybe ada Geofortis. Okay. So because they are living in separate island, okay, so these two bird species will have similar big size. Similar big size sebab apa? Dia tak perlu nak compete for the same food. Kan, they do not have to compete for the same food, so dia tak perlu nak risau untuk competition between these two species, so they have developed roughly similar morphology. Okay, so ini these two population we call it as allopatric population. Okay, allopatric population. Okay, population that geographically separated, so dia tak bother untuk change morphology dia sebab they are not competing with each other. But okay, however, okay, population in Santa Maria, this is Santa Maria, okay, shows that Geopizza fuligonosa has a shallower, smaller beaks compared to Fortis has a deeper, larger beaks. So these two bird species, satu beak dia besar, satu beak dia kecil. So this is what? To reduce competition. Okay. So which of the following statement is correct for the population in Santa Maria? Population yang species Fuligonosa dengan Fortis ni, sebab dia duduk dalam kawasan yang sama, okay, we call this as sympatric population. Ingat sympatric population. Kawasan yang sama, tempat yang sama is population. Sympatric population. They have overlapping niche. Okay. So in order to reduce competition, these two bird will develop different feature. Satu big besar, satu big kecil supaya nak reducekan competition. Satu makan buah yang besar, buah ataupun nuts yang besar, satu makan buah ataupun nuts yang kecil, lebih kecil. Okay. So this is to reduce competition. So which statement is correct? They have stratified distribution for all location. Salah lah. Okay, taburan dia kita tak adalah tak ada nak kisah sangat. Okay, so they need to eat different food to reduce competition. So jawapan dia adalah B, because they develop different big size in order to reduce competition, so that species A, species B, species Fuligonosa and Fortis will feed on different fruits or nuts. Okay. So the answer will be B, right? So number 14. How is phosphorus cycle different from carbon cycle? Phosphorus cycle adalah, kita ada dua jenis cycle kan. Satu gaseous cycle. Gaseous cycle apply for nitrogen juga, nitrogen, oxygen and also water. And then kita ada satu lagi adalah sedimentary. Okay, sedimentary yang ada pada batu, tanah kan, yang berkaitan dengan, kalau tanah apa, litosfer atmosfer udara. Okay, litosfer and air, right? Hydrosphere, kita ada tiga kan, atmosphere, litosfer and also hydrosphere. So kalau phosphorus cycle dia adalah sedimentary kan, dia hanya dapat pada tanah on the ground sahaja. Alright. So how is phosphorus cycle different from carbon cycle? It is strictly an inorganic cycle. Tak semestinya. Kalau phosphorus dia combine dengan carbon material dalam masa dia bentuk organism, yang kan, they are found in your DNA. For example, phosphorus are found in your DNA, in the phospholipid of plasma membrane. So bila dah bind dengan other compound such as carbon, kita tak consider this as inorganic dah. Okay, so salah. Okay. So phosphorus is cycled back into the soil through precipitation. Salah lah kan. Okay, it is not through precipitation. And then phosphorus does not enter the cycle from weathering of sediments. Salah. Sebab ada phosphorus yang dalam batu semua kan. So bila rock tu eroded, kan? So weathering of rocks, so dia akan masuk balik ke dalam tanah, soil, kan? So the phosphorus cycle does not include a gaseous phase or cycle through the atmosphere. Inilah jawapan dia. The sediment saja. Okay, anything that are related to the ground, to the soil, manusia, organism, animals that live on the ground, when they die, kan, so they will be decomposed and all the phosphorus will return to the soil back. Okay, dia tak, ingat sedimentary, dia tak akan jadi gas, dia tak akan masuk ke atmosphere. Okay, only on the ground, in the soil. Okay, so the phosphorus cycle does not include a gaseous phase or cycle through the atmosphere. So ini hanya apply kepada gaseous cycle. Okay, gaseous cycle contoh carbon cycle, right? So number 15, figure 2 shows different survivorship curve for various organism. Which of the following curve represent human? Yang mana? 1, 2, 3?
1.
1. Okay, 1. So ingat kalau 1 maksudnya early age, okay, and during remaja semua, kan, middle age, you all sihat lagi. Sihat, tak ada penyakit semua. So lifespan dia, rate of survivability tu tinggi. Tapi as you get older, you get all the different disease, penyakit semua. So the high rate of death among the elder group of generation. Okay, so dia akan drop lah. Alright. Tapi kalau type tu untuk jenis organism apa? Bird. Ingat kita tahu bird, small mammals, rodent, lizard, maksudnya at each stage ada potensi untuk peringkat umur tu mati. Okay, so yang young ada kematian, yang muda sikit ada mati, yang tua pun ada mati, kan. So you have death rate, okay, equal kematian tu berlaku pada setiap peringkat umur, macam tu, right? So that is bird and mammals. Sekejap kita tengok definition daripada semula untuk yang type 2 ni. Type 2, curve is intermediate with a constant death rate over the organism lifespan. Okay, so individual die at all ages. Okay, so kalau type 3 ni oysters and trees lah, kan. So curve drops sharply at the start, low survivorship for the very young. So sebab tu kalau pokok, kan, so dia ada banyak biji. Satu pokok banyak biji, kan. So bukan semua biji yang terhasil ni akan tumbuh jadi individuals, right? So ada yang tumbuh, ada yang mati semua, right? Okay, so that's why kat sini sharp drop, okay, at the start, at the start, but flatten out as death rate declines for those individual that survive the early period of die off. So bila dah jadi satu pokok yang besar, kan, dia punya lifespan dia lagi lama pada umur manusia contohnya. Okay, contohnya pokok kayu balak kat dalam hutan, kan. So it has a longer lifespan, right? So for each type ni you have to know the example and also the explanation. So number 16, in a population, growth rate decreases when growth rate of population turun. Natality rate exceed mortality rate. Salah lah. Kadar beranak kelahiran lagi tinggi pada kadar kematian. Memang tak lah, kan. So ini akan increase population rate. Kadar kematian, mortality rate exceed natality rate. So is this the answer? Yes. Kan. Kadar kematian melebihi kadar kelahiran. Okay. So it has achieved the maximum number. Ini semua salah lah jadinya, kan. It has achieved maximum number of individuals, salah lah. So ini akan increasekan population. Population size is stabilized for a long time. So ini stable. Dan dia dah, kalau satu population dia punya graph tu boleh jadi exponential macam tu. Kan, tak ada resistant limiting factor. Ataupun ni secara ideal lah, kan. Ataupun dia akan grow macam ni lah. Dia reach carrying capacity S shape, kan. So population size is stabilized after a long time. Stable lah. Dan dia dah reach max dia punya carrying capacity K tu. Okay. So number 17, figure 3 shows a variation of big size into species and tadi lah yang bird tadi tu kan. So you have G. fuligonosa and G. fortis. So dekat Los Hermanos dengan Daphne Island ni, tengok big size dia lebih kurang sama. We call this as allopatric population. They have similar big size. They are not competing for food. As for birds that live in the same island, you observe the big size is different. Satu kecil, satu besar. Kan? So this is so that they develop different morphology, different big size to reduce competition because they will be feeding on different type of fruits and nuts. Okay. So this is what we call it as character displacement. Okay. Morphology dia jadi lain. Macam itulah character displacement. So number 18, fish, frogs, water lilies and dragonflies in a pond. Okay, satu kolam. Ada all these species. Ada fish, ada frog, water lily and all that. So we call this as apa? Cepat. Population, species memang tak lah kan? Community, ecosystem, mana?
Community.
Community. Habitat dia pond. Dalam pond ada ikan, ada kata, ada water lilies. So itu kaum community. Living in the same place, consisting of different species. Kalau ecosystem, okay, awak ada satu kawasan ni, ada kolam, ada sungai, ada hutan. So ini baru kita consider dia as ecosystem. Okay. Okay, so number 19, density dependent factor may occur. Sekejap, saya padam ni sekejap. Density dependent factor may occur due to all except density dependent. Density dependent is, okay. Ini kita tengok dekat population growth of population. So growth of population ni dipengaruhi oleh density dependent factor dengan lagi satu adalah density independent factor. Density dependent factor kecuali, okay. Awak kena tahu dulu density dependent factor adalah kejap, density dependent competition, okay. Density dependent factor tu maksudnya contoh competition disebabkan oleh food kan. So individual dalam satu population tu tak boleh nak grow secara eksponen. Sebab apa? Ada limiting factor. Limiting factor such as apa? You have limited food. You have limited space kan. So you maybe disebabkan oleh individual keluar kan. So ataupun diserang penyakit kan. So itulah density dependent factor. Kecuali tsunami, the one that you cannot control. So the one that you cannot control adalah density independent factor. Kalau berlakunya contohnya bencana alam, tsunami ke, earthquake ke, fire ke kan, ataupun drought, dia akan affect population tu, tak nak kena affect juga kan. So dia akan mempengaruhi dia akan juga mempengaruhi growth rate of that population. Okay. So population akan grow kepada dia punya tahap carrying capacity je. So salah satu faktor dia disebabkan oleh density dependent factor and density independent factor. Density independent factor adalah contohnya tsunami kan. Bencana alam lah. So for question 19, the answer will be A. Sebab A ni tsunami adalah density independent factor. Density dependent factor, migration, parasitism, food limitation, space. So itu adalah density dependent factor. Ingat yang tu. Question 20, how does the logistic model of population growth differ from exponential growth? Ingat ada dua jenis population growth, logistic, dia punya curve dia S-shape. Okay, S-shape, dia akan reach apa? Carrying capacity. Lagi satu adalah exponential growth. Dia akan grow exponentially. Okay. Sebab tak ada limiting factor. Okay, tak ada resistance kat situ. So ini adalah J-shape curve. Okay. Kalau yang logistik adalah S-shape curve. Okay. So how does the logistic model of population differ from exponential growth? The graph of logistic model is J-shaped. Logistik salah lah kan? J bukan J, dia adalah S. Kalau J dia adalah exponential. So statement A dengan B ni terbalik Logistiknya logistik S-shape, exponential adalah J. Dia naik mendadak. Okay, naik mendadak tanpa stop. Sebab dia apa? Dia tak ada limiting factor. So A dengan B salah. So the exponential model growth shows a restricted growth rate. Exponential mana ada tunjuk restricted. Dia akan grow je lah. Grow kan. So sebab apa? Tak ada limiting factor. Alright. So jawapan dia salah. Okay. Ini salah. A salah. B salah. C salah. So jawapan dia tinggal D je lah. The logistic model considers the environmental carrying capacity. Okay, logistic model ni dia akan grow sampai satu tahap dia akan mendata. Sebab apa? Dia dah reach carrying capacity. Tahap yang mana populasi tu boleh grow secara maksimum dan stabil. Dan stabil pada takat tu je. Okay. Sebab apa dia stabil kat sini? Sebab apa? Sebab due to limiting resources. Okay, makanan, sumber makanan terhad, space terhad. So dia akan mengalami logistic model, right? 21. The realized niche for Catamalis is determined by apa? Ni yang pasal barnacle saya cerita tadi tu. Kan ada batu. Kan ada batu dia nak grow. Okay. And then ada air laut. Catamalis duduk kat bahagian atas. Balanus duduk kat bahagian bawah. Bila ada competition, Catamalis akan occupy the top part of the rock. Okay, so this is what we call it as realized niche. Realized niche hanya akan terjadi bila berlaku competition. Competition between Catamalis and Balanus to compete for space. Okay, so Catamalis sebab dia boleh tahan tempat yang lebih kering, so dia akan duduk pada bahagian atas rock tu. Okay, so realized niche. Tapi ada lagi satu istilah apa? Fundamental niche. Fundamental niche tu bila awak remove Balanus, sebenarnya Catamalis tu boleh occupy the whole rock. Itu adalah fundamental niche. Fundamental niche terjadi bila tak ada competition. Okay, so Catamalis boleh occupy the whole of that rock. Okay. Okay, so number 22, 3 organism belongs to the same population if they are apa? Same population. Tiga organism dalam same population if they are of the same species that live in the same area. Okay, jawapan dia C. So thank you tadi. So 23, apa jawapan dia? Phosphorus cycle ni. B. Kan? So phosphorus cycle tak melibatkan benda tu jadi gas kan? So burning of fossil fuel hanya apply for carbon cycle. Okay, so yang lain A, C and D ni adalah untuk phosphorus cycle. Okay, so 24. Saya rewind balik. A, C and D adalah untuk carbon cycle. Okay, carbon. Sorry, sebab dah tengah hari. Saya pun dah ni. Kita rewind balik. Tapi explanation. Okay. We are focusing on phosphorus cycle. Dia kecuali burning of fossil fuel. Ini untuk carbon cycle. Okay. A, C dengan D adalah untuk phosphorus cycle. Alright. So number 24, which processes is involved in the phosphorus cycle? Erosion. Okay. Evaporation, transpiration, cellular respiration, carbon cycle. Boleh. Okay. So that's the end of part A. of ecology. So next this week on Thursday kita akan discuss on part B ecology.